This was my 2006 Ninja 650R. Now, the Ninja 650R is not the fastest bike you can buy, and it's definitely not the most expensive bike. But of all the bikes I've ever owned, this is probably one of my favorites. It's got to rank up there in the top three. I took these photos out at Texas Motor Speedway out on their parking lot one night just as the sun was setting. One of my earliest YouTube videos was taken on board this bike when I rode it from Fort Worth up to Kansas City and did about 680 miles in one day. But these pictures were taken about 2 weeks before I totaled the bike out, breaking my collarbone in the process, and instead of riding home for the day, I got in the back of an ambulance and rode to the hospital. So about 9 years ago, I was working at American Airlines, and it's about 25 miles from work to home, but I was at work one afternoon, a Friday afternoon, and my wife gave me a call at work and said, hey, there's a free concert tonight. Why don't we take our girls to the concert? So I made arrangements to get off work early, and I hopped on the Ninja 650R to head home. Now, there had been this construction area that I'd been avoiding to and from work, but I was leaving work this day around 3 o'clock, getting off early to head to the concert, so I thought I'd be able to get through that construction area with no problem. The area that I was riding through, we were going about 35 miles per hour. I had 3 cars in front of me. I had about a car and a half car length between me and the vehicle in front of me, and I had a solid white line to my right-hand side. Now, we were approaching a stoplight that was green. There was a stoplight further up the road that was green as well, and we were turning left to get on the highway, and then it would be a short ride home from there for me. So we were approaching that second light, and I had the solid white line to my right-hand side. I had a car come up from behind me, and they filled up that gap, that car and a half car length in front of me, cut me off in traffic. They immediately slammed on their brakes when they got over there. I had a few years riding experience at that time, was fairly new getting back on the bike for a second time. I'd ridden a lot in my younger years, but the pavement was chewed up from the construction, so that car pulled over in front of me. They slammed on their brakes, and I reached out with my brake hand, and I grabbed that front brake, immediately locking the tire up. And I remember the bike going over to the side, and I remember hitting the pavement and thinking, man, that was a pretty solid shot. I hit pretty hard. Then I could hear my bike sliding off down the road. So my next thought was, oh man, it's tearing my motorcycle up. And then I thought right after that, it's traffic behind me getting stopped. So I sat up in the roadway, turned my head around, looked to make sure traffic was getting stopped and everybody was stopped in the road. And I thought it was okay. I reached over to stand up, and when I reached over to stand up, planted my hand in the ground, I could feel all kinds of shifting through my right shoulder. Knew at that time I'd broken my collarbone. I ended up breaking my collarbone. I had a basketball-sized knot on the side of my right leg where my thigh hit the pavement, and I broke my big toe on my right foot where the bike landed on my foot before it slid off. I had a full-face helmet on. I had a riding jacket, gloves, boots, and jeans. My helmet had a big gash in the helmet, a big indentation right there, and slide marks down the side of the helmet. No head injury at all, no concussion, nothing like that. So the helmet really saved me in that instance. It would have been a whole lot worse accident had I not had the proper gear on at the time. There's an old saying that says, wise men learn from their mistakes, but wiser men learn from the mistakes of others. So today I'm going to ask you guys to be wiser than me and learn from the mistakes that I made on the road as we look at some of the causes of this accident from the story that I just told you. So one of the most obvious causes of the accident was the car crossing the solid white line, cutting me off in traffic and slamming on the brakes. That was a definite contributing factor. I also told you that I reached out and grabbed the front brake. So the way I went to the front brake also contributed to a great extent to the accident that happened. Also, my following distance, I had about a car and a half car length between me and the vehicle in front of me, and it probably should have been more in that situation. I told you guys I was riding through our construction area, so the road surface played a part. The place where I went down at, the road was chewed up from all the construction vehicles going over it. And something that may not be quite as obvious, I want you to think about where I was going. Where did I tell you guys I was going prior to the accident? Well, my wife had called me and said, hey, let's take our girls to a concert. So I can tell you exactly what was going on in my mind. Right before the accident, I was thinking, do I have cash in my wallet? Are we going to eat out? Are we going to eat at home? Are they going to be ready as soon as I get home to go out to the concert? Oh, crap, a car just pulled out in front of me. So my mental awareness was definitely a contributing factor, what I was thinking about, because I didn't even see that car coming up on my right-hand side until they had cut in front of me and slammed their brakes on. So what we're going to do now, we're going to separate this list, the things that were under my control and the things that were not under my control. Well, the way I went to the front brake was definitely under my control. I had taken an MSF class where you do emergency braking, but I don't think I had practiced emergency braking since I had taken the class. So proper brake technique was not a part of my riding habit, was not a part of my practice habit, and when I needed it on the road, it wasn't there for me. My following distance was definitely under my control. I should have been more aware of the situation and had a greater gap between me and the vehicle in front of me. My mental awareness was definitely under my control because I was thinking 10 miles up the road and wasn't thinking about what was happening right now. The car crossing the solid white line and cut me off, slamming on their brakes, there was nothing I could do about that, so we'll put that one not under my control. But what about the road surface? Was that under my control or not under my control? At first thought you'd think it was not under my control, right? There's nothing I could do about the construction. But I knew it was a construction area, and I knew before I rode into it that the roads were torn up. I chose to ride through there anyway. So we're going to put that one under my control as well. You notice anything about this list? I see 1, 2, 3, 4 things under my control, and only one thing that was not under my control. I'm convinced as riders that if we eliminate all of those distractions that are under our control, that we're going to put ourselves in a much better position to avoid an accident. Because there will be things on the road that are not under your control. There will be a car that pulls out in front of you. There will be a car that doesn't see you at an intersection. But if you eliminate all of the other things that are under your control, you're going to be in a much better position to avoid the accident in the first place. Had I increased my following distance between me and the vehicle in front of me, I probably wouldn't have been involved in an accident. Had I practiced emergency braking and instead of grabbing the front brake, used appropriate emergency stopping techniques, I wouldn't have been involved in an accident. Had I avoided a road surface that I knew was torn up, I wouldn't have been involved in an accident. Had I had the mental awareness to know that that car was coming up on my right side with the possibility of crossing the line and maybe even slamming their brakes on in front of me, I wouldn't have been involved in an accident. So my question to you this week is, are you prepared? Are you the wise man who can learn from your own mistakes? Or are you the wiser man who can learn from my mistakes? Are you prepared when that car crosses the solid white line and slams their brakes on in front of you? I want to encourage you guys as riding season approaches to find a training course that you can take in your area. Let an experienced rider coach watch you ride and help prepare you for this riding season. I want to encourage you to subscribe to MCrider and share our videos with your riding friends, where every week we're going to provide a video for you to help you work on your skills and to help you work on your road strategies to be prepared for situations just like this. If you really like what we're doing, You may choose to support us on Patreon and help us spread the word of motorcycle training to other riders. Till next week, guys, this is Kevin with MCrider, and we'll see you on the road.